Good evening, folks. It's Thursday night. It's 8 p.m. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, we have a full house here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. And we have so much to get into. We got folks invading Raw, and it's looking like a horror show. We got Drew McIntyre over in his homeland, and he might have been done dirty. And more people are showing up in NXT and TNA. We're going to get into all that and more. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need is that Big Gold Belt.
How is it going, everyone? It is Thursday night. It's 8 p.m. Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, Season 4, Episode 19. Glad to be here. And it's been a while since we've had the whole crew in one place at one time. But we are here with a full house, all 5 members tonight here on the show for an exciting week in wrestling with a lot going on and some wild cards in the mix that we'll get into in various different ways tonight. But I am Will up here in the top middle of the screen. To my right, we'll go to my left. We'll go around in a circle here. To my left, we got Silly Celis. Below him, we got the Giant Crab Jamal. To the right of him on the bottom, we got the big man in charge, Najir Chambers, 2 James. And of course, down in the Lone Star State, it's Damian G.
In the penthouse.
Right. There you go. I know, at the palatial estate or
palatial estates.
Taking his summer residence, as they used to say about the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase back in the day. Gentlemen, how's it going tonight?
Good.
Great.
Yeah,
exquisite.
That's some
opulent,
Damian.
Opulent.
I hope that place has air conditioning because it's hot as hell up here. I can only imagine what it is down in Texas right now.
Yeah, I got my AC going just fine on the first day of summer. Let's do this, right?
That looks like a 6-unit type of establishment over there.
Yep.
Oh my God. Well, we're going to get right to it, folks. I think this is going to be a packed show tonight, so I'm glad you are all here with us. Let's get right to Monday night and the closing of Raw, because we've had QR codes, we've had teasers, we've had cryptic websites and all kinds of stuff for months that this was coming. But the lights went out on Monday Night Raw to close the show, and we had the arrival of, I guess they're being called the Wyatt 6 in a couple different ways, whether you're SICKS or SIX or however you want to put it. But the Wyatts have returned. They are here, and they raised some hell. Kind of I don't know, I'm opening up with this. Is Chad Gable alive or dead right now?
He's in limbo at this point.
10 bell salute on the way.
Apparently, he's not in the Money in the Bank now because of this attack. So he's not in the qualifier.
I mean, he had some blood on the side of his head where I was like, oh my God, he might have took one to the dome. Whatever happened down there.
There's a lot to really break down with that, because I tweeted saying that, you got to tell you really have to Ricochet really has to be wanting to get out the door, because that's literally was the perfect send-off for him 1 week later. And
they could have just killed Ricochet. Yeah.
And he would have went off, but obviously they couldn't wait 1 week for that because he must be wanting to go. But I think you have to keep in mind about the victims, and everybody's down in the weaves in terms of who were the victims and identifying everybody. But Chad Gable was obviously the easiest spotted person. So you have to think with everything that he just came off with Sami Zayn and everything he's doing with the Alpha Academy, and then with even the Creed brothers that people are thinking that they're going to realign with him. What is the significance of him being the one that was essentially murdered at Raw? But yeah, I thought it was interesting about them picking him and what does that mean. And then I instantly thought, why not Ricochet 1 week later for that to be the reason? What an additional impact that would have made if he would have been one of the victims and now we had not seen him again.
Yeah, let's kind of go around I guess initial takes on how this, how that unfolded, since we had no idea what they were gonna do. There weren't really any teases other than just they're gonna show up. But
I pose another question too. So initially the date was that this was supposed to happen at in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yes.
So I questioned a lot about like the timing of everything. What was the delay? Why didn't they come out on that date? What made them wait to this Raw? What was the significance with this Raw? Also, you know, the people that are a part of it, you can almost say like they look like they would have want to be a part of this. You know, the suspects of previous characters, unhinged characters, seems to make this make sense for all of them. But then recently, Matt Hardy just debuted in Impact on TNA. And there have been rumors that maybe he was going to come out to be a part of it, but ultimately they didn't. So one week he debuts on TNA, and then the next week they get debuted here. So I'm just wondering if they really were trying to align a lot of different components to make it happen. And then just on that speculation alone, the execution of this was amazing,
flawless.
They nailed it. They really nailed this.
One thing I'll always give them when they've done these Wyatt returns is the production is always top notch. The way they make these reveals is always, you know, really well thought out and really hell of a production deal. And just, you know, the effects and just the lighting and everything they did there in the back. I'll always give them the credit for that. It's where do they go from here where I get worried, but they always tend to nail the first appearance. It's just a follow-up where things get hairy. But
yeah,
I guess one other thing that popped in my head here, where you were talking about, you know, different people involved and, you know, Matt Hardy and all this, where we're sitting right now, technically, they haven't really revealed anybody. Everyone was in masks. We know who's supposed to be in there, you know, the talk of who these characters are, but there's nothing that they couldn't, you know, shuffle the deck on here if they really wanted to. I don't know, just a thought just popped in my head since everyone stayed in masks the whole darn night.
So I'll add this in there. I think one of the important things about the timing that's done this is now you've got rid of your sports seasons in a way. And this is like the first official summer season coming off of a premium live event. You're coming around the corner from Money in the Bank. You're going to SummerSlam. This is like the perfect start of the season to SummerSlam where that's going to be your payoff. So this is the initial point that you're trying to put with this group to see, okay, where they go, how they're going to affect some of the circumstances that's going on. Once again, Chad Gable earlier in the night just made a promo saying, okay, I'm going to do something that Otis didn't do and win the Money in Bank. But then you take him out. So what is the storylines that you're going to project with these persons that's going to be a part of this group and how that payoff is going to be to SummerSlam? But I'm going to take another take on this.
Otis did win Money in the Bank,
but he didn't get a chance
cash
to
it in successfully.
Okay.
He took it away from him. But one of the things that I'm gonna take is on a personal aspect is I wonder how Taylor felt after doing this promo. Now you built this up from the movie or the documentary that did on Bray Wyatt. You could tell it was full of emotions of how deeply well done it was. You saw the teaser at the end of the documentary saying, oh, maybe he's going to use Uncle Howdy in the future. And then a couple of months later, you debut or re-debut your character in honor of your brother. I'm thinking for him, emotionally, he probably had to take so much emotion just to say, man, I did this. Not only did I represent myself in a great way, I represented my brother. So it was just so much emotion that I'm pretty sure he had just to see how masterful that was for him and based on what he can take this. Now, like you said, Will, I'm wondering where they take it from here. I don't think you need to set them up in promos. I think you just need to make sure you just act them out on doing images like this that make you afraid of them to see what they could potentially do while they're in the ring. And maybe they don't even debut as a wrestling, match until SummerSlam, but continue to build on them. Don't let them talk. Just build on the atmosphere they're building. But I do have one question that I'm going to bring now. The name Wyatt 6, as you said, Will, SICKS or SIX, but we only saw 5 people debut. And somebody that was been a part of this scenario that you thought was going to be there wasn't present yet. And that's Miss Alexa Bliss. I wonder where she falls in this as well.
Another theory I heard is the 6th member, Bray, just in the big picture that he was the 6th member and that there's only going to be 5 involved in this. But hey, I mean, there's any way they could go with it. Someone else get in here and throw some thoughts on this.
Well, my question is Gable done with WWE?
No, he resigned. He just said it on the podcast. Yeah.
Okay. Because
which is more or less why the Ricochet thing just continues to make sense to me.
Right. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting that they highlighted him, they lingered on him just being knocked out and no medical attention for anybody. Everybody's knocked out like it's some kind of deep sea space station or whatever. And the aliens have already come through and you're the only person alive left. The cameraman is invincible. He'll never be defeated. But the idea is, since Gable has resigned, okay, cool. Now that it leads to the other questions that you got to ask is what's his role in this? Why target and then linger on him? At the moment, at the time. Now, of course, Money in the Bank is coming up, and then you have SummerSlam in August. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. I think having Bray as the sixth member, the vacant head of the table, so to speak, is exactly what it could be. Kind of the similar deal with the Dark Order when Brody passes, and then he's always a member, but he's never, even though he'll never really be there, he's always there. So, and of course, with the Wyatts being what they are, that borderline supernatural gimmick anyway really plays into the fact that, they can still use Bray and the essence and the imagery and the iconography of him to drag him along with the story, but he obviously doesn't have to show up. It's interesting, an interesting debut, and it will be interesting to see where it goes. With it just a Raw thing? Will they be on SmackDown? Will they, dare I say, they show up in the Impact Zone? Where hopes and dreams go to die. The gates, the barn door is kind of just like open, and since they really didn't do anything, this is just the cliffhanger teaser. We'll have to wait and see what it actually is later on down the road. So I don't want lengthy promos, damn it. I don't want a 40-minute monologue with 3 commercial breaks. Just keep them spooky and mysterious, and then obviously we'll let them develop their motives and intentions before we get into they take off the mask and go, hey, it was me, Austin, all along. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Jamal, let me ask this question back to you. When you mentioned that cliffhanger, what if WWE had an off season and that was like the season finale before you have your summer break?
It's one of the reasons why I say they should.
Yeah, I'll be lobbying for that every 3 episodes.
Every episode, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been saying that for years, is that your wrestling should have an off season. It would make for storytelling one of the better things. You can't have a bigger cliffhanger than we'll see you next month.
Yeah,
right. Who killed Gable? That could be the
exactly. Yes. He'd be JR from Dallas at this point.
Exactly, and then it was all a dream. I hope that's not the route we take with that eventually.
No.
I'll say this though, there's definitely a couple of different ways they can go about this. I think that the documentary proves that there's so much audio available from Bray Wyatt.
Yes.
And I mean, having him coming out and obviously dubbing his vocals over things, I think still presents that mystique. I think that, we understand that Bray was a genius, but understanding that him and his brother had a lot of conversations together. So you kind of also have to shine a lot of that same respect on him as well too, because that's how they operated since they were kids. You learned this in the documentary. So, a lot of the plan of what Bray's execution for this may have been something he always wanted to do, but it was always their goal for them to do this together. So there's an absolute not only I feel maybe a measure of pride to fulfill this, but this also just gets back into Taylor just being employed and having something to do as well too. And I think that measure of motivation is going to be telling. But I think there will be a way of honoring him and then fulfilling the brothers, the siblings goals and dreams together, but also still keeps in terms of just what they need to do as far as employment and jobs and characters also alive. So I think it's more efficient if they will allow, Bray's voice to be dubbed in order to have short and concise moments and just have them be out and available to wreak terror at any given moment. I just thought about this. If Chad was such a featured person to be taken out, that would insinuate that unless they wreak terror tomorrow night, that are they going to try to align Chad in a situation where he needs other folks in order to to take
Protect
them on.
himself.
Yeah, or that. Does he have to run back to Otis? Does he have to run back to Maxine? Will he need the Creed brothers? You know, how will he protect himself if he doesn't no longer have my favorite word in the English dictionary? If he doesn't have family.
Of all people to choose to be the victim that they focused on, it's really interesting that they picked him. Of all the people on that roster they could have went with, I never in a million years would have thought, oh no, Chad Gable's going to be the one who's going to be clearly shown as having been victimized by the Wyatts, but here we are, and that's who they went with.
Imagine thinking what's next after Sami Zayn, and he's like, oh, he's going to get murdered by the Wyatt Six.
Murdered by the Wyatt Six. So if anyone can confirm this, I saw the imaging after the fact, and allegedly Gunther was one of the victims backstage, but it wasn't confirmed. So if it was one of those
there
things,
was a lot of people in shadow.
Yes,
that looks kind of like Gunther. And there's another dude like people like that kind of looks like Carmelo Hayes, but Carmelo Hayes is on SmackDown. So Gunther, I would say Gable's the only one we know definitely.
We know definitely for sure
because they clearly made sure he was lit well and that we saw him good. Everyone else was very shadows and kind of like that looks kind of like so that.
If it was Gunther, they would have made sure we seen that because that's a big deal.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, I would say I want to hear that confirmed on TV, in canon before I'm saying, Gunther was attacked by him.
So here are my concerns. I know we are inevitably going to get to the concerns, and everyone's made a great case as to how this was awesome. But do you remember a little thing called Retribution?
Oh boy,
where they came in, House of Fire, breaking stuff, throwing TVs through windows, burning things, explosions.
The dark days of pandemic wrestling.
And like you even said, well, they start off typically with the Wyatt stuff really well, and then it just goes to die. So that is one of my worries right there, that after this initial boom, we're going to get Retribution 2.0 or a typical Wyatt meh, even though Bray's not a part of it actively, making him the quote unquote higher power through vocal, through voiceover and whatnot would be interesting. But here's why I'm worried. I don't see, aside from one of the alleged people on this team is good at promos. The rest, not so much.
Taylor, I mean, you have to go back to the Bo Dallas.
Exactly.
NXT
so he's not playing Bo. So if Joe Gacy is revealed to be the person behind one of the masks, if you've seen his NXT promos and you knew him from CZW, he can cut a good promo. Other than that, we haven't heard Dexter Lumis say a damn word in 5 years. Unless it was okay. Nikki Cross, she's Nikki Cross. Eric Rowan is just Eric Rowan and intimidating, and that's all fine and dandy. And then, there's Taylor, and that's fine for, giving him a job, which leads me to my other issue or worry. Remember how when Eddie died, Ray got the rub? Mm-hmm. So now that Bray's gone, Taylor gets the rub and this group gets the rub in memoriam of Bray. At what point does the push potentially become, okay, they're only doing this because we lost Bray? But in reality, they would have pulled the plug sooner.
I'm surprised that narrative ain't already hit, considering how the IWC is. But I mean, regardless of what you think, it's popular. It works. It sells.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not popular. I'm saying that's my worry long term after the initial Tony Khan boom, at first, like we always talk about. And then what's next? So I think obviously that's the important thing. What's next?
Our guy Toxic, he has an idea here. They need Alexa Bliss to be the talker.
I mean,
Alexa can talk.
She can,
for sure, and she
does
has
a talk show,
and she does have history with Bray Wyatt. So there is a.
I also read
link
there.
there.
I also read that potentially this is going to be less supernatural and more horror suspense.
I hope so.
Here's my thing with that, because and very much documented in the movie is that Bray had ideas that he didn't want to walk back on. So now that we understand that from the employment level, some of these folks were not employed not that long ago, which means they don't necessarily got the tenure in here in order to just be calling shots like Bray. So I think there is a very much a lessons learned from the previous Fiend, the Fire Fiend and the unstoppable, overpowered Fiend. I think that's more or less what that statement is coming from, is that they don't want to book themselves into a corner. So I think if you keep them very much limited, I wouldn't use the word push, but just have them be like the Shield when they first came out, where you just come out, return, and out.
This is what they need to be. They need to be more original Wyatt family, which was backyards, swamp, hillbilly cult, based in reality. There wasn't much hocus pocus involved. It was backwoods swamp people. That's what they need to be. Weird shit like that, as opposed to the Fiend and a whole separate sub-reality kids show and red lights that suddenly make him invincible. It's like, it's got to have some base in reality. What we saw the other night on Monday, there wasn't anything too crazy about that. It was,
they just beat the crap out of people backstage.
Beat the crap people. Yeah. There was blood, and that was it. We didn't have like otherworldly powers involved. So I think that's a key part of it.
Yeah, murder a few more people. So go ahead and catch a body with Tozawa next.
And the other thing I would say is this: keep them the hell away from the titles. They shouldn't be concerned with titles.
Nowhere near. Nowhere near. No. Yeah.
Concerned with just creating chaos, violence, a danger in that respect, but no need to have championships involved at all.
So can I make a suggestion? Oh, sorry. Okay. So
no. Go ahead.
Let me make a suggestion on what to do with them first. Like my theory, honestly, the first person they're going to go after is Jey Uso, because the whole thing with the Fireflies, take them back, I don't want no smoke. I think the perfect way to F him over is during the Money in the Bank match itself to prevent him from winning it. And and again, they're not wrestling; they're just getting involved and mucking stuff up, and they might murk him and something to that effect. I don't want to see them wrestle. I don't. I just want to see them just do stuff.
And I disagree, because I think they need to stay away from any hot baby face. Yeah. Anybody who has momentum, I mean, they need to go after folks that are in very much of a purgatory booking area of booking. So, you think of somebody like Apollo Crews.
I'm surprised he wasn't dead on Monday. Yeah,
but see, listen, we can't have too many murders on TV at one time, because at some point we're going to have an investigation there.
Well, it's like Dexter.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Loomis, the show Dexter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, one per episode here. Okay.
But just to go back to what you said, I think, like you said, James, stay away from any title contender. I think that even gives the more reason why Chad Gable was a great pick, by him not winning when we thought he was going to win. At Clash of the Castle, he's still that mid-carder that doesn't have anything per se that's going with a title, but he has something that is a good story. Even if you do bring them on the SmackDown side, I'm just even thinking about candidates that could be with that. And I know LA Knight is dealing with himself with, the US title. I would stay away from that, but just get with people that are good storylines that necessarily doesn't have to be with the title. And when you think about back in the 90s, where you had a lot of stables, some of the best stables did not have to go for the titles. And look at the Brood, right? The Brood never really went after titles when they were at their peak, but they went after things that made sense. So I think you can do this with this story to build them out for, a couple of months or a year, just to make sure they have storylines that make sense, because people are just going to be in fear of what they may do. But keep them away from any major title contenders, or, like you said, hot baby faces, because that may mess up huge stuff that you may want to build with even Jey Uso. If he does win Money in the Bank in a couple of weeks, that can continue with that storyline that's away from the, the bloodline and things of that nature, but make it with mid-card storylines that make sense.
All right. Yeah. We good on this? We covered it all? Any other thoughts?
Do you think inevitably that the audience may tire and WWE will pull the plug too soon?
No.
If they book it correctly, and I know we'll talk about some other things, and I'm really trusting what Triple H is going to do, because it's not about short-term storytelling with him. It's about long-term storytelling. And you always have to think about what is the payoff. And I know that's going to come up with a couple of topics that we have coming up, but what is the ultimate payoff you want with this team? Just like if you're doing a teaching lesson, right? What is the objective that you want your students to learn? Here, what is the objective that you want your audience to
What's
get
the
out
principle?
I mean, how long did they run the bloodline story, man? Listen, as long as people are interested, they could keep this thing going. I think that it's going to bring a lot of eyes, and people love Bray Wyatt. They love the characters that are being created. People love horror. And again, I think you just give a little bit, maybe not every week. And even if you do every week, just a little bit, just like the QR codes that everybody was overly invested in. Keep doing little cryptid things, even though that they've been revealed, you know, have them lurking in the shadows, having bodies left and right, and they're just standing over. Let the cinematography speaks for itself each and every week.
Yes.
Well, that's actually the only thing I really want from them. You know, you're talking about, well, who's going to be the mouthpiece? No one should talk.
Yeah.
Leave cryptic message. Leave you know, little ciphers and number patterns and stuff like that. Like during a match, just abduct one of the people in the match.
Yeah.
Just let them go missing. I mean, and I want nothing but like ash residue or something borderline supernatural in the ring, but like what happened, the match is thrown out because one of the participants has been dragged into, you know, the impact
to hell.
So well, close. But it's, you know, just keep it mysterious but not goofy. And for me,
oh, go ahead. Sorry, Crab. Sorry.
For me, that's where I draw the line on Bray Wyatt. Fine. If you want to use the word genius, if you want to use the word, you know, maven, then I'm not going to argue against that, even though I disagree. I think that he had a really good idea for him. That was a very niche idea, very different than what people were doing at the time, but not so wildly, you know, original that it couldn't have branched into many different aspects of it. The gimmick got a bit tired. Dare I say stale in the end. Now, of course, with his passing, that brings new gravitas to the gimmicks, and we can't just call it what it is when they die. We got to, you know, prop it up a little bit. Okay, fine, too. So now with this thing, now that we bring it back, now that it is what it is and they're here, okay, cool. Keep it mysterious, keep it goofy, you know, and let the gimmick just evolve naturally as to this elephant in the room, this demon, you know, in the room that you can't see, you don't know what's there, but when they strike, oh shit, it's about to go down. And that's just the thing. Like, they don't need purpose, they don't need a championship, they don't need structure. They should be outside of the boundaries of these things, these conventional things, because of the fact that they're here and they're terrifying and there's nothing you can do about it. Like an actual ghost or your spirit or demon or something like that you need, like a priest to get away, to drive away back to hell or impact. So whatever, so whatever it is and whatever it could be, I think that they are going to slow roll this, not through SummerSlam, but beyond, because I think that once the original gimmick of Bray Wyatt started to evolve from Resident Evil 7 hillbilly cult family into Resident Evil 7 DLC secret umbrella organization, goofiness that we don't understand what's really going on, then it's easy to lose track of the thing that got you there. And the thing that got Bray Wyatt there was just him, Rowan, and Brody just being fucking hicks out there in the bayou, fucking gators and wrestling pigs.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. That's a different. That's fan fiction.
That's that Winnie the Pooh movie, not this. No.
And they made two of them.
They did. They
made two.
No one asked for that though.
Well, literally no one.
But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but again, I think a couple of the things that's the reassurance for me is, number one, is that there's been nothing but good booking in WWE in the Triple H era. There's not a point of it that you like.
Nothing but good booking.
Nothing. It's nothing I haven't liked. Everything I think
that's
has
different
been
than nothing but good booking, though.
Okay, that's a better statement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean
that's fine if you're with it, but it's like nothing but good booking. Then if that's the case, then
there's not that Vince McMahon cringy, what were you thinking moments in the Triple H era. Like, even
you mean like the zombies?
Yes, like things is like, what are we doing here? Everything's been making sense. And I think, again, because of continuity between NXT and then the main roster, that's making for good storytelling. I mean, hell, since Jade's been here, let's remember when Jade was booked and how long it took for her to get on television. They executed that to the T, and she's doing very well.
She did.
Vince would have had Jade versus Bianca off rip. But in fact, you had them align with each other. It's been working good. I think the thing with Bray was like the M. Night Shyamalan of his own project, where he ain't taking answers from nobody. He's like, this is what I want to do, and I don't care what you think. Here's what's happening. And then you saw in the documentary, they be like, but Bray, what are we going to do? And Bray let it tank and grew in frustration, gets fired, come back like, I got new, fresh ideas, you know? And then I think now, because this one idea isn't in one person's head, and you got so many folks involved now, Triple H obviously being in charge, you got 5 members, maybe 6 with Alexa being involved. And then let's not forget about his best friend that also is creating the costumes, who also probably have a tale in terms of the conversations they had and what they wanted to do in terms of storyboarding. So there's now a legitimate production involved. So you're going to have this flow out in a way that may actually make you look back at the initial Bray stuff and say, like, this is a lot better. This is a lot better because now you have enough people at the table to get this done, and not just one person engineering his brainchild into TV that eventually got stale after a while.
There we go. Let's move this along because time is flying tonight with all this. We got into a lot there with the Wyatts. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to halftime here. When we come back, we will have the Indie Spotlight. And then after that, I have a very simple question coming out of Clash at the Castle from Scotland. Was Drew McIntyre done dirty? We're going to get to that in the second half, folks. Stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, you know, limited time offer here at Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Again, that is Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
All right, folks, we are back for our second half here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. Every week, we like to check out what's going on the indies. So here's Giant Crab with this week's Big Gold Belt Indie Wrestling Spotlight.
And this week, we're going to go up to Worcester, Massachusetts. It's just outside of Boston for Beyond Wrestling and a Wrestling Open. They present Americana 24. And that is going on July 4th. 2024 at 7 p.m. If you want to get up there, you get up there to Boston. You don't want to do the fireworks. You don't want to do the crowds. You don't want to do some wrestling. Do it at Beyond Wrestling. Do it in Worcester at the at where Eagles Dare for American Rana 24 at the White Eagle. That's 116 to 120 Green Street in Worcester, Massachusetts. 6 p.m. is the early entry. General admission gets in at 6:30. I think a spotlight match at 6:45. So that's always cool when they announce that ahead of time. And then the special 7 p.m. bell time. So, American Rana 24, Beyond Wrestling, and the Wrestling Open give you this joint show in Worcester, Massachusetts. Joey Janela versus Alec Price is a match that I'm pretty interested in. Janai Kai versus Hot Sauce Tracy Williams is going to be fun. The Wrestling Open title, Brad Hollister versus Alex Shelley, should be a lot of fun. So, and a lot more. Either way, if you don't want to catch it live out in Massachusetts, independentwrestling.tv has it also, but be there in Worcester, the Where Eagles Dare, the American Rana 24, Beyond Wrestling, and Wrestling Open presents that joint show out there in Massachusetts, and that's the Indie Spotlight for this week. America.
Awesome. We got a lot of shows coming up this summer. It's going to be a lot of hot indie wrestling going on. So let's switch gears to last weekend. Clash at the Castle over in Glasgow happened on Saturday. And going into that show, I think a lot of people had in their heads that there was one thing that had to be happening. And to James, what you were talking about earlier, you were talking about how there hasn't been any bad booking. And I know some people that would take you to task on that because there were some upset folks after this show. There were some folks in their feelings.
I know why too.
After the end of Clash at the Castle. So some folks wouldn't be saying that, oh, there hasn't been any bad booking in WWE. Personally, I don't have much of a problem with it, but I was definitely left shocked. So let's just get right to it. Was Drew McIntyre done dirty at Clash at the Castle?
Absolutely not. He just signed a deal. All is well. The Rock is right there in his ear. You know, he's fine, you know, because now you're just more invested into the story. It's just like Cody at WrestleMania finishing the story, and you come back the next year and you forget all about what happened the year before that. Why people are mad is because people hate when they're wrong with booking, which is great for anybody who just likes the sport, where you don't know what's going to happen and you are caught off guard with an ending that you wasn't suspecting. So that's the problem, because everybody's like, oh, it's the second time, it's at home, he got to win it because the stars are aligned and da-da-da-da-da, and Dave Meltzer said this and da-da-da. No. First of all, he's still going to be there. And actually him saying he quit, which you know is obviously nothing but just the work here, you're still more invested. It's all good for the viewers who like to just watch wrestling to see what's going to happen, not the ones who needs to be right, heavy in the dirt sheets, got to predict everything. And if it ain't what they wanted, it's bad. So once again, good booking by them. Now we just wait for the next chapter, wherever it's going to be at. Will it be SummerSlam? Will they stretch it out to another pay-per-view? He will win the title at some point, but you're still so much more invested into this. And damn it, if he had won just for at some point Punk to get involved and loses it, they've been bitching about that too. So
exactly,
who knows? Let's just play it out. Hell, are people mad about Gable? Keep that same energy. He just resigned and everybody's like, it's his time to have this singles run. Could it have happened? Sure. Did it happen? No. But you're still invested now. Well, Gable's dead now, so we don't know.
Allegedly.
But yeah, just sit back and watch, folks.
So I'm going to go with 2 Chainz and also say he wasn't robbed or anything like that, because this version of McIntyre is way more interesting than when he had the title to start with.
Yep.
Back when he was the with the sword and the majestic putting in the thing. No, I don't give me that. Give me the salty, vindictive a-hole that's got a beef with CM Punk, a guy that's not even wrestled yet in your company aside from the Royal Rumble, and getting so frustrated that he feels like he's being dicked over that he just quits on live TV, which we've seen this done a few times in our lives here, but it makes you want to care about what's next in the story. You got to remember, the World Heavyweight Championship is still trying to be elevated post Rollins, right? So putting it on Drew and then him going into a feud with Punk, you forget the titles there. But those two don't need to feud over a title. They just don't like each other, which in old school 80s wrestling, like we like to talk about, is good stuff, right? So yeah, he lost at home. But you know what? Under the McMahon regime, everybody lost at home. So there's really not much to change here. Remember when Sasha lost in Massachusetts? So it doesn't really matter if he lost at home. He lost last year. Nobody, he sang with Tyson Fury was the worst part of that last year, right? He lost this year. He quit. Will he be back? Will he be killed off by the Wyatt Six at some point? We got to tune in to find out. I love it. Keep it coming.
One thing I'll add here, that just to add to your 2 points, I can't add anything more to what you said about Drew, but I think you also protect Damian Priest at the same time.
Correct.
You had the Money in the Bank where he almost had it for a whole year, about 9-10 months, where he didn't cash it in at WrestleMania. And too many times in the Vince McMahon era, we see somebody cash in, got the title, and then quickly it was removed off of him. Now, has Damian had one of the best runs as a title? Yeah, you could say, because sometimes, you got the Judgment Day with him. He's not the greatest on the mic, but he's consistent. But this is something that proves that we invested in this guy, giving him the money in the bank. We want to make sure he keeps it for a little while to show his value as a world champion. And I think you protect Damian Priest, where now you talk about the longevity of his reign, about the people that he's beat before he eventually loses it. But once again, like you said, Damian, you're still elevating that title post Rollins. And I think doing that with Damian is still protecting him and making that chase for whoever gets that title, still build it up for what's on Raw.
Also, Drew, and I don't know if it's legit or not, but he did say on the promo that his wife had to be rushed to the hospital for emergency procedure because my man just needed some time to handle some personal things. So him quitting could be in line with that.
Was legit. That was legit.
Yeah.
Right. So, hey, we got a plan in place, whether or not. But obviously, this is what's most important right now. So take the time off. If this is your means of quitting and you don't show up, just want to come back. Either way, your eyes are glued on whatever he does, here or not there. You're wondering what's next. Or is this a measure of him being able to play the game on Punk, thinking that he's not there and he's doing the reverse of what Punk has been doing in the sense of him not there, but always showing up and interfering in some capacity. So either way, we're going to be talking about this for the next few months. And I think the one thing about somebody winning the title is always now what? What happens after the person wins the title? Where does the story happen? It's the conversation with Cody. Now that he finished the story, now what? And yeah, he's been doing well, but that was the big question. Now what? Drew, after all the crying, after needing your WrestleMania moments, after winning it in your hometown, now what? So we'll see.
Any thoughts, Crab, or should I jump in here?
I was waiting on Crab, yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, I don't care. I mean, like, people are complaining about whether or not he was actually screwed.
Right.
You got to be kidding me. Like, what does it? Shut up. It's not that he was screwed. It wasn't Montreal. It wasn't. He lost. It can and will happen. This is part of the story. And honestly,
how could they do that to that crowd
in Scotland at home?
Yeah.
Why ain't they keeping the same energy for Piper then? I don't understand.
Good point.
Yeah, but I mean, you get a show in 4,000 miles from where they normally run. They give you a pay-per-view, and then it doesn't go the way you want, so you bitch about it on Twitter. Okay, I mean, why? Why are you wasting our time with this? It is the story. They're going to use this. They're going to use that crowd and those faces of all of those damn people in Scotland and build this to his redemption and his comeback story. You got to hit rock bottom first before you start your way back up, and everybody gets built up, and everybody loves to see somebody come back and win. That's what it is. That's the story that they've been telling for 75 years, and it generally works. So it's okay. You'll live.
You'll be all right.
Yeah. Something that was said to me that night that I didn't even think of, like when I was like, I was caught off guard by it. I was like, oh damn, they really didn't let him win in damn Scotland after last time when he didn't win in Wales either. And one of my friends immediately spoke up and was like, why are you surprised? They have Gunther waiting in the wings for SummerSlam. Drew and Gunther don't make sense as a match. And I was like, God damn, I wouldn't even think of that because we never had this scenario before where SummerSlam is already locked in this far in advance. So this new deal with King of the Ring setting up SummerSlam, it kind of changes the complexion of things. Because normally that would not be the case this early. Nope. So it's as simple as that the Gunther title match is no, we can't make Drew the champ now. Doesn't make any sense.
But I guess, and I've been looking through the match card, it doesn't matter that Alba Fry and Isla Dawn won, became women's tag team champions.
They got their hometown win.
Yeah, so they got the big hometown win championship match.
Somebody did.
How could Jade lose? I don't understand. Why would she leave AEW to lose?
Oh no.
That was people weren't happy about that one either.
AEW booked her so good, she never lost. Why would she lose now? I was like, what? I don't know. Somebody somewhere was saying that, but
they were. Those are the folks that didn't. And those are the folks that did not want to hear that. You notice, she didn't lose the match. Shayna lost the match.
Shayna lost the match.
She didn't lose the match. They made sure they protected Jade and Bianca in there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Folks getting their feelings about wrestling. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right, are we moving on, or anything else we want to talk about Clash of the Castle? There was other matches on the show.
I just go back to Gable just real quick, and I know me and 2 Chainz
Yeah.
was hoping that Gable will win, but once again, this goes back to what I said earlier. It's about the payoff with Triple H. So even if it doesn't happen now, something may happen later. And 2 Chainz put the words right in my mouth before I can even say earlier. Same thing would happen with Cody Rhodes. Now, it may not take a year for Drew. It may not take a year for Chad Gable, but you got to trust the payoff was there, where sometimes where you think it may align perfectly now, when you look back at it, it may make sense later about why something was delayed or inevitable.
I will say one more thing before we go, and I'll say Chelsea Green is a national treasure.
Yes,
Put her as a
indeed.
luchador. Put her as a luchador real quick. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Chelsea gets the role she is playing, and she plays it perfectly.
Very
I
well.
give her huge props for the spot she has carved out for herself on the card. All right, let's move on. The NXT TNA crossovers are continuing.
Yes.
We got Tatum Paxley showing up in the Impact Zone to take on Jordan Grace, which had definitely been teased but went down. And then this Tuesday, we got the returns happening in the other direction on NXT with the opening of the show. Damian, I am throwing this to you first because you were going there, and this is the number one question. And hell, I opened the show and it got a hell of a reaction, and it's blowing up on social media. Damian G, do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Okay, audience, and I know, and Crab can answer this obviously, but why should I believe in Joe Hendry? What is Joe Hendry?
Folks, ain't gonna
Why
want to hear
is
that.
Joe Hendry? Like, honestly, what is the pull? I'm probably the bad guy on internet right now saying, "Oh, you don't like Joe Hendry?" No, I'm just confused. What is the pull of the character aside from a catchy theme song? Please, someone explain it to me.
You mean you mean this a catchy song because it broke records on the streaming charts as well too.
Okay, again, catchy song, but why else should I believe in Joe Hendry?
I need that crab rebuttal.
I don't even know if that's even a question, honestly.
Yeah. No.
I'm legitimately asking.
No. It is a question. It is a question. It's the same question as to why people wouldn't believe in Santa Claus, or why people wouldn't believe that some other thing would happen, and that's fine. That's fair enough. So the question is, you personally should not believe in Joe Hendry. He is not for you.
He is not for me, baby.
It is not for you. That's the thing. Because if you gotta ask the question, then it ain't for you. So that's one thing. I do believe that it is interesting that he's I saw an article that said Joe Hendry is the next internet, overnight sensation. And I'm like, no, it's been a thing since Ring of Honor. That's been a thing since, ICW. That's been a thing. I mean, don't do this, Columbus. You didn't discover him. So that's one thing. As far as the gimmick and whatever, and like why you believe, I could ask that question about a lot of people that are famous for some. I can say the same thing about Seth Rollins. Other than like the Craig Sager-esque suits, what is it about him now? Rest in peace, Craig Sager. What is it about him now that gives him that appeal? Not based on the other stuff, not based on the older stuff, not based on Tyler Black. What is it about him now that pops the crowd with And there are people that I definitely don't understand. I don't understand, what the, well, I can name people all night, and I'm not going to do that because it's going to sound like I'm a hater. Like, why do you like him? The point is that Joe Hendry is one of those guys that you should have heard of by now, and you haven't because you missed him. You missed the intersection. Obviously, if you know, and if you know, then you're not surprised, and you're just waiting. You know how the story's going to end, and you're just waiting for people who haven't seen the movie to catch up and go, okay, now that we're all on the same page, cool. So as far as Joe Hendry goes, I think he's a fantastic wrestler. Yeah, the theme song is great, but he's a pretty damn good promo too. And if he's allowed to do the custom intros that he normally does, the parody songs, that for me was this big selling point. It's not just that he's another guy that can play a guitar or do a musician thing. Hit Row, set the bar pretty high for that. But we already, so we know what they could look like. But for Joe Hendry, if they let him do the whole thing, Dalton Castle is another guy that is a guy that you would go, he should be bigger than he is. He has everything that the gimmick should have. And unless he's, healthy or unhealthy, or there has some other line issue, why isn't this guy a legit star? Oh, I don't know. And that's the thing. Who knows? We said the same thing about Athena in AEW. She should be the women's champion right now. She is not. She's behind the paywall of honor.
She just announced too. She's about to be out for 6 months.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So she can't catch a break.
Right. Well, she did. She was behind the paywall of honor, and then, she got to pay the rent. But the point is that there are a lot of people that you go, damn, if they had this thing and the marketing ability of this that this person gets, they would be a star. They would be bigger. They would be whatever. And I think that for a lot of the things, this is kind of what we were talking about. Well, what's in it for TNA? And a lot of people, on being sour on the NXTNA deal, is like, well, what's in it for TNA? This is what's in it for TNA. The fact that people are raving about Joe Hendry that they never heard of, even though he has like a 7, 8, 9, 10-year career. People are raving about other people down the roster, seeing who else could come over. They're looking into Impact. Will that transition into ratings this week? Probably not. I think we evaluate in 6 months or however long this project goes on to see where it turns up. But, we do have some big person events. We have SummerSlam. We have the Royal Rumble. We have these things coming up within the next 3-4 months where there's room for interlopers.
Yeah, also too, Slammiversary is TNA staple for who may show up, and I think that leaves a lot of opportunity there. And I think at this rate is completely silly.
Isn't Bound for Glory in the fall also?
Bound for
it's usually October.
Yeah. So that means so there's definitely room for both to do a thing, and so that's what TNA gets out of it. Go ahead.
I just think it's silly for anybody to question what do they get out of it? Like there's a lot that gets out of it. One, we got the collaboration for 2 companies that has never done it. There's interest there now because this has never happened. 2, you got matches, you have possibilities, you have people going in both directions. You may have the potential for even storytelling over both brands, in an effective manner. So WWE gets, top talent like Frankie Kazarian. You got to call it for what it's worth. That guy's a legend. And then you get the sensation of Joe Hendry, who comes in and, as everybody's showing you on the internet, has the biggest video since anything coming out of WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania. You think about Cody and Roman, who are obviously somebody who moves the needle. So if he comes in and induces that, not only does that make the Joe Hendry name a bigger name, but I also think it shows you just what talent that TNA had that you may not have heard of. You've seen the wrestling display by Jordan Grace. Now you're seeing the character display by Joe Hendry. TNA seems like a place you might want to be interested in. And I'm not, one thing about TNA, they got resilience. They're never going to die. I'm not sure if they're caring about ratings because they sure don't care about what network they're on at any given point. Destination America was a place that had RVs and pro wrestling. Who would have thought that the combination out there was a lot? But at this rate now, I think at this point that I think they just want to continue to show that they're a staple in pro wrestling. And I think that's what works for them, is that they want folks to know they are a place that has talent that you should invest into. And they're not wrong about that at all.
Yeah, well, 100%. And I think that as far as the question specifically about Joe Hendry, the fact that we're talking about him, as a standout, knowing that there are people, and you could argue better or worse, in TNA behind him and in front of him, that it's definitely worth it. It's already paying dividends for what TNA wants out of this deal. Now, of course, that leads to the question of, well, I want to see Joe Hendry. I don't want to watch TNA to watch Joe Hendry. When is Joe Hendry coming to NXT?
Right.
When is Rosemary and Jessica Habit coming to NXT? When is Jordan Grace coming to NXT?
Right.
And if you're individuals that know that they can make more money, have more residual checks for merch, work, a more expansive schedule, just being on NXT means that 3 times more people have seen them than we'll ever see them on TNA. Full stop.
Yeah.
And we know that because we're literally talking about Joe Hendry. Not because he did anything, because he was on NXT. And the internet went, who the fuck is this guy?
And it just made me think of something that was put in our comments earlier from Toxic Key again. Hardy Boys, future NXT tag champs. We just had Jeff Hardy show up in TNA along with his brother, Matt. Could you see a deal where, like, of course, the Hardys have all kinds of name value for WWE.
I can see a retirement run.
A way to use them here where they're like, look, we don't want to sign the Hardys.
Yeah, you're to use them without a liability.
Yeah, it's like we don't want the liability of the Hardys on our contract. Let someone else take that risk. But we'll put them on the show once or twice. Just popped in my head.
Dude, NXT Prime, that's what that was. You had people show up. Randomly. Let's not forget when Mickie James had a whole thing with Asuka. She was not signed to WWE then.
Yep.
Right.
So it goes back to like some of the best moments of NXT Black and Gold, and then really revolutionizing it to what it is now. And then I think TNA just adds a very legitimate piece to this puzzle. And again, what we talked about last when we said who should show up, Joe Hendry showing up, not having to do anything, paid monumental dividends for social media, which WWE loves their numbers with that. And 2, for the rub that TNA gets with one of their hottest talents. And then you get somebody that's a workhorse that comes in there that has the notoriety of being just a wrestling legend across the world. And Frankie Kazarian, who gets to get in there and work a little bit. And then there's intrigue about what happens if he comes back. What else could he do? Little moments like that. So they as much as I hate battle royals, as I said, they damn sure booked their ass off on that. They nailed it with that.
I was just about to say that, and I remember we talked about it last week. That it's like, we're thinking of a battle royal, and it's like we don't really get excited for it. But for a booking of a battle royal, I was even impressed with that because even Joe Hendry, even though he got out early, he still made an impact. No pun intended. But you had Frankie Kaz, who was in there for a long time and still was a legit rub to him, saying, hey, we respect you as a longtime performer in this industry. And he even got a rub to that. So it's like the way they're booking this, it's even fair about going back to what you said, 2 Chainz under the Triple H, or if you want to say Shawn Michaels era, no bad booking, right?
NXT's hot right now. They are the one show that is growing their audience right now out of all these damn shows on TV.
TNA is hot right now. And I would say that same measure if they're growing their audience. If you want to check out Jordan Grace, that's where you need to go. And then you're going to discover the Josh Alexanders, the Speedball Baileys. Oh, the Hardys. Y'all know them, right? Like you're gonna stumble upon something that how millennials when they hear a new song and they think it's new, and we're like, yeah, so that's like the 4th remake of that song. Yeah.
Also, there's also a former TNA person now working for NXT with All Ego Ethan Page. So anyone who's familiar with the TNA Impact history, especially if Josh Alexander makes an appearance, that would be interesting to have them face off. It's like, oh yeah, he used to work at TNA. That's I completely forgot until we were talking about it. So I think for me personally, as a wrestling fan, I love this. Dare I say I like it better than the Forbidden Door, which, we're going to get to one day talking about that. But I like the way this is being executed. I like the way that NXT is able to get a rub from these well-established names going up against people or around people who may not be as established in the NXT brand on the come up. And then, like you said, we have the option of potentially the Hardy Boys or Jordan Grace coming back and seeing what's in store. So I think for the first time, because I asked this a couple of weeks ago, is this a win for TNA? Is it going to be the same thing like with the AEW bit? And dare I say, it is a win for them so far.
Last thing I want to say really quickly, TNA becomes a destination for new wrestlers to sign to.
Destination.
It becomes a destination for new wrestlers to sign because you have the lighter work schedule, but you have the possibility to show up on WWE programming. So you see a ceiling in terms of where things could go, but you're not happy to devote as much time and effort in terms of under being a WWE contract, which is why I think Jordan Grace this makes the most sense because if you heard interviews and whatnot, it just makes sense. And Gresham as well too. You know, when you think about like his involvement with the previous ROH days, where these are folks that were staples of their companies, but they didn't have to work, you know, all day, every week. You know, they do the grouping of tapings and then they're on to indie shows or they're just chilling. So this is like we work our program, we get paid by them, but then we also do some ad hoc work with NXT if needed. I think it's a perfect blend for folks who love wrestling but ain't just trying to give everything to that.
Very true. Very true. And I think it's Crab pointed out a couple weeks ago, Money in the Bank is across that border in Canada. And Canada is where TNA is based these days, Anthem Entertainment. So it's kind of, I think we got a perfect storm there between Money in the Bank weekend and Heat Wave happening up there. There's going to be more stuff coming. There's clearly going to be more stuff coming. Stuff is percolating as we speak.
Dude, listen, put Josh Alexander in the crowd in the Ethan Page match, and that right there is going to be a talking point for that weekend in Canada. 2 Canada boys. That was a tag team.
The North.
There you go. I think it's coming. Adrian Arco saying we can all say business is good all around. Yeah, stuff is hot right now. Stuff is hot. It really is.
Be alive. Yeah.
There is no shortage of stuff going on in wrestling. Well, folks, we are at our hour. A busy night tonight here on your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. We are here each and every week, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. We had a full house tonight for the first time in some time. Good to see all the guys, but some combination of us is here each and every week chopping up what's going on in wrestling. So we're glad you're here with us. You can find us, on Twitch, YouTube, streaming on X, wherever we can get a stream up, we'll get a stream up. Streaming live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Of course, also biggoldbelt.com/live carries the stream. So tons of options there on social media across the board. It's at Big Gold Belt and biggoldbelt.com, the website, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. What we got going on movie-wise too, James? We're getting into the thick of summer now, man. I know there's got to be all kinds of stuff coming.
We have A Quiet Place Day 1. We got Maxine being queued up, and then long but not sure, we got Twisters, and then we got Deadpool Wolverine.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff coming.
Real quick, because we're talking movies, I'm just throw this in there. This weekend, there is a Chinese movie that's hitting theaters, local limited distribution, and basically it's like The Negotiator. It's called Crisis Negotiator, Hong Kong movie, and it's a lot like Kevin Spacey and Samuel L. Jackson. So if you like that one, check out the trailer for Crisis Negotiator. It's dropping this weekend.
There you go. Like we said, Big Gold Belt Media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more, your one-stop shop for all entertainment. Thanks for being with us here, folks. We are back next Thursday, 8 p.m. Until then, watch some wrestling. Stay cool because it is hot out there. We will see you next week.